Hey everyone, Mr. DVB here with another review for you guys. This is not going to be a triple review, instead it's a double feature. I'm going to be talking about the two most recent comic book movies, Black Widow and The Suicide Squad. One film Marvel, one film DC. So I saw Black Widow on Disney+. Theaters were not open where I used to live when this movie came out. So I had to buy it on Disney Plus and watch it there. Seen it twice, and as far as Suicide Squad goes, I've seen that movie twice in IMAX. So I've seen both of these movies twice, so I have very clear thoughts on them at this point. And let's jump into this. So I'll start off with Black Widow first, as it is the first movie to come out of these two. So this is the 20-somethingth film in the MCU. Chronologically, it takes place before Avengers Infinity War and right after the events of Civil War. So we're getting to see a little bit more of Black Widow's, not really backstory, considering this movie doesn't take place, before all of the other MCU films. But we do get to learn some more about her character. We learn that she had this Russian family who, I guess you could kind of say, adopted her. They weren't her real parents or anything like that, but they were all pretending to be a family while living in the U.S. So we get to learn about those members, as well as a little bit more about the whole Red Room thing, where there's that whole Black Widow agency and all those characters. So this movie, I was honestly kind of disappointed with. Overall, I think it's one of the weaker films in the MCU. I liked it more on my second time watching it than I did initially. The first time I watched it was with a bunch of friends, and we were kind of laughing at a bunch of the things in it. But on rewatch, I was able to kind of focus a little bit more. And there were some things I enjoyed more on the second viewing, but overall, I still think this is a pretty weak MCU film. First off, it just kind of feels unnecessary. I mean, we should have gotten a Black Widow film a long time ago. This is like a general consensus at this point. But this movie feel like it was kind of just made just for the sake of having a Black Widow movie finally. I didn't really feel like it was telling any special story. There wasn't any reason for this to be a film, which was kind of a disappointment because, Black Widow, she's a spy, so we get to see more of that spy agency and stuff. And I think this could have been a really interesting movie. The trailers portray it like it was going to be this kind of espionage type film, and it kind of was, but then there's still a lot of the schlocky MCU stuff, especially towards the third act, which was quite possibly the worst third act in an MCU film. It's up there. I really do not like the third act of this movie. I think the first act is pretty strong for the most part. There's some good character stuff. The movie actually is really well shot. It looks nice. So I like the character stuff in the first act. I thought the action sequences in the first half, or the first act, I should say, were the best they were in the movie. There was this one fight with Taskmaster on this bridge that I thought was pretty good. There was like a truck chase that was nice. There were some cool sequences like that. The middle of the movie was very focused on the characters, and kind of reuniting everybody with her family and whatnot. So you get to see her mom, her sister, her dad, and the characters, they were I enjoyed them, but they felt underused, especially David Harbour and I think Elena is her. Elena might be the sister, I don't remember, but her mom was very underused. Both her and David Harbour, they had almost no action sequences, and I just didn't think they were in the movie enough. Her sister, I really liked. I think her name was Elena, played by Florence Pugh. Thought she was a good character, so I enjoyed her stuff. But yeah. The villains in the movie, you have Taskmaster, who has already been complained about a ton. Now, I don't care that Taskmaster ends up being a woman. That means nothing to me. I don't care. I'm cool with that. But I just didn't really think they used the character well. They were kind of barely in it. There wasn't that many action sequences with them. And like I said, the third act of this movie just drops the ball big time. I didn't feel like the movie really had enough of a story in the first place. It's kind of just she reunites with her family and she wants to take down the Red Room once and for all. It wasn't really anything special in my opinion, and I don't know what the Red Room's plot was, what they were going to do. Were they going to overthrow the world, or did they just exist? It wasn't really, explained very well. But the main villain, who was played by, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in Indiana Jones 4 and a few other movies, Departed and whatnot. It was nice to see him, because I haven't seen him in that many movies recently, but his character was not very good. There was this one terrible line with him that my friends and I were laughing so much at. But yeah, overall, Black Widow, like I said, weak third act, just a disappointing movie overall. One of the weaker MCU films. I'd still say it's worth checking out if you guys are MCU fans. You've probably seen it anyways, but I do think it's lower tier MCU.
I'm done running.
All right, and next up we have The Suicide Squad, which is the newest film in the DCU franchise, and James Gunn's return to the big screen after a few years. I think was when 2017 was when he did Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I really like James Gunn as a director. I love the two Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I think they give you some really great characters who are kind of lesser known. They make you care for them, and then they have really, really good humor. I think those are the funniest films in the MCU, because James Gunn is really great at just writing funny dialogue, witty dialogue for his characters. And I thought that, just his style and his directing techniques and whatnot would work so well with the Suicide Squad, because the first Suicide Squad movie, my big issue with it, there's a ton, but the biggest one for me was, or at least one of the biggest ones, was the tone. The trailers were very fun and energetic, but the movie was so wishy-washy. Sometimes it was trying to be fun and energetic, but a lot of the time it was just really dull, and the visuals were really just gross to look at. And I wanted that kind of fun, entertaining movie, and James Gunn definitely delivers that with The Suicide Squad. Now, I don't think this movie's perfect, and I think I liked it a little bit less my second viewing, because the issues I had the first time around were a bit more prominent. My biggest issue with this movie is the humor. I actually don't think this movie's funny, which was a shame, because, like I said, I love the Guardians of the Galaxy humor. I just don't think his humor worked well in The Suicide Squad. This movie is R-rated, and so more of the humor is, kind of like Deadpool, where it's a lot of, sexual jokes and stuff, which can be funny, but I just don't think it works as well in this movie. A lot of the dialogue for the characters from a humor standpoint was kind of annoying. For example, Harley Quinn got on my nerves pretty quickly. A lot of her jokes in this just aren't funny. She has a lot of lines that just don't land for me, and she was just kind of annoying at times. So that was definitely a weak aspect for me, was the humor. Besides that, the pacing is a little bit off at times. I think the first/second act at times can get a little bit slow. But the third act is fantastic. I think it is the best third act in a DCEU film by far. I really like the action in this movie is fantastic. It's very bloody and over the top. The kills are great. The characters across the board were great. There were some members who were in the movie, very little. And that was one of my issues with the trailers, was that they made it kind of obvious about some of the characters who were going to die, because they just had almost no screen time in the trailers. And so going into the movie, I kind of predicted, okay, I'm sure these characters aren't going to make it, and those predictions came true. There was one character that they kill off who I was hoping to see more of, because I think they were one of the better characters in the first movie, and they just unfortunately weren't really in this movie much, which was kind of disappointing. As for who my favorite members of the group were, I think the highlight for me and a lot of other people I've talked to was Ratcatcher 2. I thought that the performance given by the actress Daniela, and I can't remember her last name, but I thought she was great in this movie. She was definitely the heart of the film, and she just didn't feel like a criminal, right? You know why she's there, but she wasn't even really for anything that bad. But I connected to her character very quickly, because she's just so heartwarming, so kind. And there's, like I said, she's the heart of the movie. There's this one scene with her towards the end, like a flashback, that I loved. Just everything about her character I thought was so well handled. So she really stole the show for me from that sense. I thought Idris Elba was awesome as Bloodsport. He was everything that Deadshot should have been in the first movie, in my opinion. I just really liked him in this role. John Cena as Peacemaker was great. I really liked him in this movie. Rick Flag was so much better in this movie than he was in the first film. Really liked him here. Polka Dot Man was enjoyable. King Shark was hilarious. Harley Quinn, I was mixed on. I liked her in the movie, but I just, like I said, I think sometimes she just got a little bit annoying. But no, all across the board, I liked the majority of the characters. I thought they were great. There isn't really a main villain in this movie. There is Starro towards the end, and he's not in the movie a whole lot. I like what they do with him. I know some people were disappointed that he wasn't saved for the Justice League or anything like that, but I don't think we're going to be getting anything Justice League related with the DCU anytime soon. But no, I liked how they used him here. I thought the third act was really well handled. It just had a lot of really awesome moments back to back. There's just, a lot, the character stuff here, the character writing and whatnot is awesome. It's just the humor and the pacing that was a little bit weak at sometimes. But overall, great movie. I highly recommend checking out The Suicide Squad. Cannot wait to pick this one up on 4K.
Where's my dad?
I want to get you out of your life.
out of these two movies, Suicide Squad is by far the superior film in my opinion. And yeah, those are my thoughts. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next review. Bye-bye.